I'm Judy Shaw for NYSE Floor Talk. Joining me today is Steve Case. He is chairman and CEO of Washington, D.C. based venture capital firm Revolution, and he's also the co-founder of AOL. Steve, it's wonderful to have you on Floor Talk. Thanks for joining me today.
Great to be with you.
Thank you. So now congratulations are in order. Your book, Rise of the Rest, came out on paperback on September 19th. So now can you share a synopsis of the book and its main arguments?
Well, I spent most of the last decade traveling around the country trying to understand what was happening in cities all across the country in terms of startup ecosystems, tech hubs. And so far we've visited with our Rise of the Rest bus nearly 50 cities. We've made investments in more than 100 different cities. And after spending so many years visiting so many entrepreneurs in so many cities and just being so, just finding what they're building remarkable and where they're building it surprising, decided I needed to write a book to summarize some of the lessons learned, and the paperback version just coming out, and look forward to spreading the word about what's happening with entrepreneurship all across America. Obviously, a lot of focus is on the coast, places like Silicon Valley, but there needs to be more focus on the rest of the country, and that's what we're trying to do with Rise of the Rest.
Okay. All right. So now tell me, which U.S. cities and tech sectors are driving innovation right now, Steve?
Well, that's, I think, one of the key lessons we learned from our travels, and I've tried to communicate in the book. It's not, one or two or three cities on the rise. It's several dozen cities on the rise. This is really a across the country kind of dynamic. As I said, we have now investments in 100 different cities. So we're seeing cities like Chicago, Atlanta, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Denver, Nashville. I could keep going, that are all showing momentum in terms of what's happening in their startup ecosystem. All the attention and most of the venture capital goes to three cities: San Francisco, New York, and Boston. They get the majority of venture capital right now. What we're trying to do is shine a spotlight on those other cities where companies are building really phenomenal company. One example, in Atlanta, we backed a company called Hermeus, is building a Mach 5 engine so you can get from Atlanta to Europe in 90 minutes. Another one in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Acre Traders built a platform to invest in farmland. Another one in Richmond, Virginia, is focused on sustainability, created sustainable packaging to replace styrofoam. And in Chicago, we backed Tempest, which is a health tech company trying to provide more precise diagnosis for disease using AI and other technologies. There's just dozens and dozens of these companies that we were proud and privileged to be backing. And the cities that they're now birthing these companies, instead of before, maybe in 10 and 15 years ago, people in these cities felt like had to leave. They go to one of the coasts, go to Silicon Valley if they wanted to have a shot at building a company. Now, more and more are staying there. Some are even boomeranging back because of the pandemic, and it's really quite exciting.
All right, now tell me, which tech sectors is Revolution bullish on right now?
Well, we have two themes that we're focused on. One is around place, and it ties in with Rise of the Rest, not just looking in the same cities, but looking all across the country. The other is around policy. We believe that most of the innovative companies in the next 10 or 20 years in areas like healthcare and food and agriculture and financial services and so many other areas, there's a regulatory aspect to them, and our headquarters here in Washington, D.C. might give us a little bit of an advantage. And also Congress has passed legislation, CHIPS and Science Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, Inflation Reduction Act, that will inject $3 trillion into the economy, creating uncommon opportunities for this next phase. So that's what we're watching on the policy side. But clearly sectors like AI and sustainability, healthcare are some of the areas that we've been particularly focused on.
Immigration policy, it's been a hot topic in relation to the tech industry's talent skills gap. Tell me, how do you see immigration policy intensifying this gap? And do you propose any solutions?
Yeah, I've been working on this for a decade, sadly without much success. I even testified in the Senate almost a decade ago about immigration reform, and I do write about it in the Rise of the Rest book in terms of why it's not just a problem we need to solve, but an opportunity we need to seize. We need to continue to lead the world in innovation, and we can only do that if we continue to be a magnet for great talent. There's now a global battle for talent. America needs to win that battle, but it has gotten harder to come. It has gotten harder to stay. Other countries are taking advantage of that. So we do need to pass some immigration reform that's focused on making sure these innovators that are not job takers, but job makers are able to come and stay in this country. Things like the startup visa is one particular provision I write about, but there are many other aspects to it.
All right, now we see tech giants facing increasing scrutiny in terms of mergers and acquisitions. Tell me, what's your perspective on the current regulatory environment surrounding these deals? and its impact on the tech industry?
Well, there's no question that as some of these big tech companies have gotten so gigantic, trillion-dollar market caps with significant aspects in our lives, we've gone from an era which saw when we started AOL in 1985, almost 4 decades ago, where there was sort of a light touch approach to regulation on the internet. That made sense when only at the time 3% of people were online. They're only using the internet an hour a week. So it's still early days. Now that it is so ubiquitous, these companies are so powerful, not surprisingly, governments, not just in this country, but all around the world are taking more time to understand what some of the challenges and opportunities are there and try to strike the right balance between encouraging big companies to innovate in areas like AI. So America continues to lead that battle versus China and others, while at the same time making sure that the biggest companies aren't stifling innovation from new companies that are launching, including in these rise the rest cities. And so it's tricky to strike that balance. I was encouraged just last week that a lot of the leaders in the tech world were here in Washington, D.C., meeting with the Senate, educating people about AI, both the promise of AI and also some of the risks associated with that. I think that dialogue between the innovators and the policymakers is going to become increasingly important. And you got to strike the right balance in terms of enabling good things to happen while also keeping bad things from happening.
All right, so you mentioned AI. Everyone's talking about AI. Tell me, what impact do you think AI will have on the tech sector?
Well, it's already had an impact. AI is actually not a new concept. It started about the same time as the internet, decades ago. And we all use products every single day that use AI. What's changed is generative AI, particularly the success of ChatGPT, created sort of this Netscape moment for AI. In the early days of the internet, when it was just coming of age, when the World Wide Web launched and Netscape launched a browser to connect to the World Wide Web, that opened a lot of people's eyes to the potential of the internet. Similarly, now we're seeing that with AI because of the success of ChatGPT and many other platforms that have emerged that are really getting people to understand the power of the technology. But we've backed a number of companies. I mentioned Tempest in the healthcare sector using AI to diagnose disease, cancer, other things. We've also backed company Interactions that uses AI to improve customer service. Another one in North Carolina, Prion, the founder actually of the Alexa technology that Amazon now owns, started a new company focused on AI for the enterprise. We're definitely seeing some opportunities emerge in this new phase of AI, but it is worth remembering AI has been developing for decades.
All right. Well, Steve Case, wonderful to have you on Floor Talk, and congratulations on your book, Rise of the Rest. You can find it now in paperback. So thank you so much, Steve. Great to have you on Floor Talk.
Thank you. Great being with you.